Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mrs. Bromacombe. Activity 3, we are going to look at the debtors reconciliation and the age analysis. So if I look at this activity, Birdswood Traders, owned by Stanley, sells building material for cash and on credit. Their credit terms are 30 days, but they are budgeting that 80% of their debtors will adhere to the credit terms. This is important information to take note of for later on. So required, explain why the balances of the debtors control account should correspond with the total of the list of debtors. This is a common question asked with reconciliation when we look at debtors, and I can ask you exactly the same question looking at creditors. Question number 2. Calculate the correct closing balance of the debtors control account as at 30 June. Prepare the correct list of debtors. Question number 3. Then question number 4. Study the information and answer the questions below. Very important if you look at question number 3. Show calculations. If you don't show your calculations and your final answer is correct, yes, you do get full marks. But the problem is, if your final answer is wrong, you lose the opportunity to earn part marks. So make sure from the beginning that you always show your calculations in brackets. If I look at the information provided, they've provided us with an age analysis, the balance of the debtors control, and the balance according to the debtors ledger. So please make sure that your step number 1, when you're completing this type of question, that you show all the amounts provided to you in brackets. If it's given to you on the answer booklet, it's fine. If it's not given to you, that is your step number 1. We don't use the credit limit. The credit limit is for later on when we need to analyze the age analysis and to see, do we actually have control over our debtors or not? So the first question, briefly explain why the balance of the debtors control account should correspond with the total of the list of debtors. So if I go back to what you've learned since grade 9, when we have a transaction, we issue or we complete a source document. From the source document, we complete the journals. Now, very important, from the journals, we take all the transactions to their personal, to their individual account, which is called the ledger. And from the ledger, we compile the list. But now also, from the journal, we post the totals to the debtors control account. And what is the purpose of the debtors control account? It's a summary of all my debtors. If I've done this process correctly, the list must be equal to the control account. So if I answer this question now, debtors control is a summary of all my debtors. All the transactions is posted to the ledger, to the individual's account. We use the same source document. So for this reason, it should balance. Now, looking at the next 2 questions. 3.2 says calculate the correct closing balance, and then 3.3 is the list of debtors of Birdswood Traders. When you approach an exam, don't answer question by question, because we need to look at the same information, list of transactions, that we need to take to either the debtors control account or to the list or to both. So I'm not going to first complete 3.2 and then go and read through the transactions again to complete 3.3. So yes, it is 2 separate questions, but we use the same information to complete this questions. So make sure that you do a transaction and you make the changes at the same time. So remember, right in the beginning I said to you, if they provide you with the balances, your step number 1 is you need to fill it in. On the answer booklet, they've now provided it to you. They said to you the debtors control balance was 175,700, and then they've given to you in brackets all the balances from the information. So all I need to do now is I need to look at the transactions and I need to add or subtract and calculate the new balance. So if I look now at the first transaction, the debtors journal was overcast by 4,100. So if we're talking about the debtors journal and we say it was overcast means too much. So the debtors journal means that we will need to make a change in the control account. It has absolutely nothing to do with the individuals. So we're going to say minus, because it was overcast by too much, so minus 4,100. Looking at the second transaction, goods sold on credit to Pele were incorrectly posted to the account of Nehembe 7,600. So what happened here? We've incorrectly debited the debtors account. It has nothing to do with the control account. If you think about it, the debtors control account, if I make a correction in the one debtors account and I take it to the correct debtors account, it will balance us out. Plus minus equals 0. So the only place that we are going to make the change is in the list of debtors. Now we need to look whose account was incorrectly debited. How do I know it's debited? Goods sold on credit, we are busy with debtors. It means that the account will be debited. They owe us more money. So goods sold on credit to Pele were incorrectly posted to Nehembe. This means that we will need to minus it from Nehembe's account and we will need to add it to Pele. Looking at our third transaction, an allowance on damaged goods delivered to Masibuku, 1,400 was posted to the wrong side of his account. This is the one that's always a little bit more challenging that you need to be careful of. Because why? Number 1, we have posted it to the correct debtors account, but to the wrong side. So number 1, you need to know an allowance, where does it appear? Because if you don't know where it does appear, how do you know which is the wrong side? And then how would you know how to correct this? So an allowance means that the account should have been credited, but instead the account was debited. So if you're not sure, always open a T account. It will take you 2 seconds. It was incorrectly posted to the debit side because it should have been credited. So to correct this, we need to take it out. But by taking it out, we've only cancelled the transaction. Now we still need to show the goods that were returned. So therefore, we always say minus 1,400 minus 1,400. You could have just written minus 2,800. It would be exactly the same. Please remember, this will have a negative effect on his balance. Looking at the next transaction, an invoice issued to Ms. Welly for 2,300 was not entered in the books of Birdswood Traders. This means that we've omitted it. It means that we will need to make a change in both the control account as well as in his personal account in the list. So an invoice issued means that he owes us more money. So we'll need to plus 2,300 in the control account and plus 2,300 in his individual account. Transaction number 5. Goods sold on credit to Pele was omitted. Pele received 1,000 trade discount at 10%. This is a higher order type of adjustment. It's a little bit more difficult. Why? Number one, you need to understand what is trade discount. Trade discount means paid less on items purchased. If I look at discount allowed is paid less for early settlement of account. So now what makes this more difficult is that they provided you with the 1,000 trade discount and they said it was at 10%. So goods were sold. I don't know what was the selling price after the discount. I don't know what was the selling price before the discount. What are we looking for? We're looking for what is the amount that he is actually going to pay. So to work this out, we are going to say before the discount, it equals 100%. So we always use percentages. It's always about getting the unknown over the known. The total trade discount is 10%, and after the trade discount will then equal 90% that this person will need to pay us. So now what have they provided you with? They provided you with the 1,000, which is the 10%. And what is it that I want to calculate? I want to calculate after the trade discount. So to calculate the amount after the discount, we have to say 1,000 times 90 divided by 10. Remember again, trade discount, we never ever show the trade discount amount. We always show what is the amount that this person owes us after the trade discount has been given. So goods sold on credit means that he owes us more money. This transaction was omitted, which means it was left out. We will need to make changes in both the debtors control account as well as in his personal account. So we're going to say plus 9,000 in the control account and plus 9,000 in Pele's account. Looking at our last transactions, goods sold on credit to Botha for 4,700 was correctly entered in the debtors journal, but was posted to her account in the debtors ledger as 7,400. So number one, we need to identify where do we need to correct this. We have posted it correctly in the debtors journal, but where did we make the mistake? We made the mistake posting it to her account, so it means that we will need to fix it in the list of debtors. So how do I correct this? The amount, we sold it for 4,700, but it was recorded as 7,400, means that we have overstated the amount. So how do we correct it? If you're not sure, you can open up a T account. It was recorded as 7,400. It should be 4,700. So the difference of 2,700 must be subtracted. It will have a negative effect on her balance. Why? Because she owes us less money. So in her account, we are going to say minus 2,700. Once we now have done all the transactions, we've made all the corrections, we now need to total. So question 3.2, we're just going to total. Question 3.3, we're going to close all the brackets. And if we've done all of this 100% correctly, it means that the control account must now balance with the list of debtors. A tip: if it does not balance, don't go back and look for your mistake. Rather finish the paper. At the end, once you've finished all the questions, come back and look at those type of adjustments or transactions which you were not 100% sure of, and just go back and spend a little bit more time and see if you've done them correctly, or somewhere if you made a mistake, possibly you made an adding mistake, but make sure you do it at the end. Otherwise, you might end up not finishing or rushing through the rest of the questions to get it done. Now, the next question specifically say that Birdswood Traders does not have effective control over the debtors. Explain by quoting figures to motivate your answer. So, a reminder when we're looking at age analysis, and we need to analyze to see if we have effective control over our debtors or not. We look at who does adhere to the credit terms and what percentage does not. We look at which debtors are exceeding their credit limit. So if I now look at the age analysis and I look at current and 30 days, if we add them together and we divide it by the total outstanding debt, it means 32% keeps to the credit terms of 30 days. This means if I take the 60 days plus the 90 days and I add it together, divided by the total debt, it means 68% of the debtors are not adhering to the credit terms. You could have also said, once you've calculated the 32%, you could have said 100 minus 32 equals the 68%. Remember, the total debt equals 100%. If I add those two together, it should equal 100%. This means that 68% exceeds the payment period of 30 days. Now, just a reminder again, in the beginning, they said to us our credit terms is 30 days. So this is why I looked at who is paying within those terms and which percentage is outside of that period. So if I now look at information number C, these were the balances. This was the balances before we made the corrections. So I am going to compare the new balances with the credit limit, and I'm going to identify and highlight which of those debtors are exceeding their credit limit. So if I have a look there, before I made the changes, I only had 2 debtors who exceeded their credit limits. After I've made the corrections, we have 3 debtors. Masibuka exceeds his credit limit with 43,000. The difference, 43,700 minus 50,000 with 13,700. Bueta with 20,500. Pele with 15,200. So these figures proves that we do not have effective control over our debtors. So now we can look at state 2 actions that we can take as a business to encourage debtors to settle their accounts according to the terms. So if I look at the first one, we need to make sure we send monthly statements. We need to send our statements to our debtors before the end of the month. Send reminders. We can use text messages, SMS, or we can even email our customers, our debtors. Offer discounts to debtors who pay in time. If they settle their account within 30 days, we can offer them a discount for early settlement. We can charge interest on overdue accounts. Very important, stop selling to debtors until the overdue accounts are settled. We can even say, do not sell to debtors if they exceeded their credit limit. They need to settle it first. So these are all the steps, or some of the steps that we can take. Please don't say pre-screen debtors. They're already debtors. So what can we do now to get the money in, to encourage them to pay us much faster or within the credit terms? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on debtors recon and age analysis. I want to leave you with the following quote: "You get what you work for, not what you wish for." We are going to look at another activity where we're going to see how creditors is incorporated with the age analysis. This is just an additional activity which I would love to do with you. I hope you have a wonderful day. Goodbye.